Growing up, I was a big fan of Kirby Air Ride. I know that it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I personally think that City Trial is an absolutely genius multiplayer experience. I remember enjoying it so much that my siblings and I would just turn on free play and roam around the city off of vehicles, platforming our way through this neat little sandbox of a city. And I remember thinking to myself, man, I want a whole Kirby game that's just like this. Well, little did I know that HAL was experimenting with a 3D Kirby game that unfortunately never saw the light of day. Shigefumi Kawase would later mention in an Iwata Asks interview that the 3D game was scrapped because they weren't able to achieve the quality that they had hoped for and it never reached completion. Thankfully, almost 20 years later, Kirby and the Forgotten Land fulfilled that wish. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is Kirby's first 3D adventure, but it's not just a Kirby game in 3D. There's a lot of innovation, love, and care put into this game that makes it so much more than just Kirby's 3D now. This game feels like the culmination of the series' best ideas put into a new and fresh formula that just makes for a really fun game from start to finish. The main new mechanic of Kirby and the Forgotten Land is this new, horrifying mouthful mode. This unsettling new ability causes Kirby to interact with a variety of items in the world in new ways. While mouthful mode does subject Kirby to some medieval levels of torture, it really is an interesting mechanic. Mouthful mode isn't a power-up like the copy abilities are, but instead it is a key for solving puzzles like captures were in Super Mario Odyssey. Similar to Odyssey, the mouthful modes will limit your moveset greatly, but will provide you with new abilities to be able to solve puzzles and progress. So ring mouth allows you to blow gusts of wind and steer a boat, and light bulb mouth allows you to light up dark areas. They're usually used in confined spaces, and I think that they're implemented quite well. If I had to complain about them, I do wish that there were more mouthful modes to use. There are only 14 mouthful modes in the whole game, which is a bit low, and I would have liked to see this idea pushed even further. For what it's worth though, I think that mouthful mode is a pretty good mechanic. One of the areas where I think Kirby and the Forgotten Land shines best is in its level design. It's closest to games like Super Mario 3D World and Crash Bandicoot rather than Super Mario Odyssey and Banjo-Kazooie. The levels are much more linear in structure and are much less open to exploration, but I personally don't think that this is a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, I love open-ended exploration platformers, but I think that the linear, course-clear structure fits Kirby better and also allows the designers to create some unique, consistently interesting levels. The average level in Forgotten Land will take you about 10 minutes, and these levels pack a whole lot into those 10 minutes. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is really great about throwing new and interesting levels at players consistently, mixing up the aesthetics and level mechanics while still maintaining a cohesive theme for the world. Let's use my personal favorite world in the game as an example, Wonderia Remains. This world is an abandoned amusement park, which is just a brilliant theme for a collection of levels. The first level, Welcome to Wonderia, opens with a cute little entrance to the park with a photo op, then introduces the spinning spaceship rides that you'll see throughout the world. This level also introduces the roller coaster mouth, water balloon mouth, parades, and this icky paint-like goop. The next level, Circuit Speedway, remixes these mechanics by implementing the goop and parades into some car mouth racing sections. However, there's also an intermission between the racing portions where you'll be rolling bombs down hills to solve puzzles. Invasion of the House of Horrors is a really distinct and lovable stage that has this really cute blacklight laser tag theme. Here, alien cutouts will pop out at you and they'll get combined with these crumbling floors for an added twist. Next, you'll encounter a light bulb mouth portion in a dark room. Usually, I hate dark room levels in platformers, but the light bulb mouth mechanic along with these ghost Gordos that attack you when your light is on and these pop-out aliens are enough to make this portion really fun. Next, you'll encounter a portion with fake hallways that will fall and crush you if you can't tell the difference between them. There's actually a secret behind the last fake hallway where you can inhale a vending machine. Finally, the level ends with an on-rails portion with the pop-out ghosts, and if you got the vending mouth, you'll actually be able to destroy them, which is a great finale for this level. Finally, we move to the Wonderia Dream Parade, which is a beautifully lit level where the parades that we saw in the first level of the world are in full swing, running much faster and all over. You'll be weaving in and out of these parades, avoiding getting hit in a variety of ways, starting off somewhat tame, ramping up by running on and off the road with oncoming traffic, and eventually actually launching these cars off their path with water balloon mouth, mixing these two mechanics that we saw previously to create an interesting twist. There's a secret room with a race here, and the level finishes with Kirby running on a highway, ducking and avoiding the cars as he reaches the finish. A fantastic finish to this really fun set of levels. I took you on this long-winded description to help illustrate a few things about Kirby and the Forgotten Land's approach to level design. Firstly, each level in this world is really distinct from one another, both in aesthetics and in their mechanics. However, the theming is still really cohesive, and playing through the entire world does feel like it's taking you through an abandoned amusement park from entrance to exit. The interesting part here is that these levels feature multiple mechanics that evolve as you travel through the world. So instead of introducing a mechanic, twisting it, then throwing it out like Mario games usually do, Kirby instead introduces multiple mechanics alongside each other, then mixes and meshes them throughout different levels. So the water balloon mechanic is introduced independently of the parade mechanic, but it's later mixed with the parades to provide some interesting puzzles. This is great because players are introduced to multiple mechanics in a vacuum that allows them to get familiar with them, then creatively mixes these ideas to build fun and consistently interesting levels for players to explore. And to be honest with you, the entire game is this clever. Each of these levels is introducing new and fun mechanics that help to keep the game really fresh for its entire runtime. The boss battles in Kirby and the Forgotten Land are really fun too. These bosses work so well in the 3D space, and I found myself really enjoying these fights whenever they come around. Kirby has a useful dodge roll ability that comes in clutch during these fights, and it's insanely satisfying to pull off a dodge, then quickly attack while there's an opening. The bosses aren't insanely hard, and I frankly wish that there were more of them, but I think that this game nails the design of its bosses. There are also these really fun Treasure Road stages, where you'll be put into a timed obstacle course and you must use the copy ability or the mouthful mode to clear the challenges and get the rare stone at the end. These levels are reminiscent of the challenge stages from Kirby's Return to Dreamland, although here they're implemented into the main game. I really like these. They're quick, fun little stages that try to challenge your knowledge of a certain mouthful mode or copy ability, and I found them to be really fun. I do wish that they got a bit more challenging. I never really had to retry these to clear them in time, so they're not too hard. Treasure Road stages are fun though, and I think that they provide a nice change of pace from the main levels. Copy abilities have been changed and improved as well. Some series mainstay copy abilities are here, like Fire, Sword, Bomb, etc., but there are also two new abilities here, Drill and Ranger. Drill is pretty cool. You burrow underground and can dig up some treasure, but Ranger is really fun. Kirby gets a little gun and you can charge up long-range shots at bosses to really knock out their health bar from a safe distance, and personally, I think that these abilities really showcase how well Kirby can work in 3D. However, Kirby and the Forgotten Land makes yet another improvement on copy abilities as a whole that the series has never done before. You see, you can actually evolve your abilities to make them even more powerful and useful. You can find these blueprints spread out across levels, and if you find them and bring them to WaddleD's weapons shop along with some star coins and rare stones, you can get more powerful and versatile versions of the copy abilities. So let's continue with Ranger. You start with just one gun that can do decent damage, to two guns that can fire way faster and have more collective power, to a little laser blaster that can create a devastating black hole if charged up all the way. Each copy ability has its own interesting evolution, with some like Sword that completely change the way that you use the copy ability, to Tornado that increases the ability's power and adds new interesting effects. Even Sleep, the series staple joke ability, can be evolved and provides actual utility. Kirby and the Forgotten Land truly takes the concept of copy abilities and runs with it, and I cannot get enough of it. The only criticism that I have here is just that I wish that there were more abilities available. There are only 12 copy abilities in this game, and unfortunately without series staple abilities like Yo-Yo, Water, Wheel, Wing, and Beam, the selection here does feel a bit incomplete. I absolutely adore the direction that Kirby and the Forgotten Land takes the copy abilities though, and I really hope that this idea is brought back in future entries. So, your main goal in Kirby and the Forgotten Land is to save the WaddleDs that are being kidnapped by this army of Awoofies. To do this, you need to clear levels and find hidden WaddleDs in each level to be able to open the pathway to the boss. I really like this, but for you completionists out there, Kirby and the Forgotten Land also features missions that you can complete for each level to save secret additional WaddleDs. These missions can range from lead these ducks to their mama, eat this many donuts, and tear down wanted posters in the world. These missions add so much to this game. In linear platformers, it's really easy to want to dash through them as fast as possible, but Kirby and the Forgotten Land really incentivizes you to take your time, explore the levels, and interact with everything and everyone. Since you don't know what these hidden missions are, you'll want to really make sure that you're exploring every nook and cranny of every level and paying attention to the set pieces around you. If you don't complete all of the missions on your first attempt, the game will reveal the next mission to you so you can complete it on your next retry. This adds so much replay value, and it makes you want to really play through these levels again and again and leave no stone unturned. However, the missions on the boss stages are pretty obtuse in my personal opinion. Lots of them feature missions like defeat the boss with a certain copy ability, which is not really something that you could just figure out on your own and will likely force you to fight the boss at least once more. Then there's the clear the fight without taking any damage missions. These can get pretty challenging, especially with unevolved abilities, and there's no real easy way to retry a mission after you get hit. You have to back out of the level, enter it again, do the whole intro sequence again, and then you have another shot at the mission. This gets even worse with a couple of stages later in the game which feature boss rushes. The missions require you to beat the final boss of the stage without getting hit, so if you mess up, you have to back out of the level, then go through the entire level again just to get another shot at it. This can just get tedious, and a retry from last checkpoint option would have been really nice. But other than that, I think that saving the WaddleDs adds a ton of replay value to this game. The WaddleDs are more than just a clear condition though, so there's a central hub world called WaddleDTown, where all of the WaddleDs that you've saved will hang out once they've been rescued. When you first arrive, WaddleDTown is deserted and quiet, with almost no resources or a reason to hang around here. As you progress through the game and save WaddleDs, WaddleDTown becomes more populated and more developed, and this provides you with more resources as you progress. You unlock WaddleD liveries, where you can enter codes, the WaddleD Cafe, where you can buy food to restore your health and play a cute little sub-game, there's a fishing sub-game, an item shop, and so much more as you continue to save WaddleDs and develop this town. And I think that this provides so much incentive for players to shoot for 100% and save all the WaddleDs. There are also these little gacha figures that you can collect and display in your house, which is just a neat touch, and I love seeing Kirby admiring his collection of figures. Kirby in the Forgotten Land has a plethora of collectibles and side content to gather and experience, and it does this all in its own really cute and memorable way. Visually, Kirby in the Forgotten Land is really flawed but really neat. The character and enemy designs are so relentlessly charming that I legitimately feel bad for having to defeat these enemies. I could go on for hours about how fun and interesting the level themes are, from abandoned overgrown malls to a flooded power plant to a frozen over metro, but we'd frankly be here all day. The art direction in Kirby in the Forgotten Land is really strong, and I think that this really helps to make up for where the technical limitations can tend to hold the game back. It runs at a mostly solid 30 frames per second, but it's not uncommon for the frame rate to dip during boss battles or moments where lots of action is happening. Textures on these rocks will often pop in, and characters in the distance are often animated at a really goofy, low frame rate. I feel like this highlights a problem with the Nintendo Switch more rather than Kirby itself, but I did feel like it was worth pointing out. Another minor thing, this game actually does have co-op. A second player can play as Bandana D and has their own unique moveset. This is fun and all, but I can't help but feel like the player who plays as Bandana D is only getting part of the experience. Bandana D can't get copy abilities, can't use mouthful mode, and the camera doesn't even focus on them. This is 100% a little brother mode, which is fine, but I really wish that there were more options for the second player. If there was a big selection of characters for them to choose from, a la Dream Friends from Kirby Star Allies, I think that this co-op mode would be better, but as it is, it's just okay. These are minor nitpicks, but I did want to bring them up to help highlight small areas of potential growth in an otherwise fantastic game. Kirby in the Forgotten Land is unforgettable. This game is absolutely bursting at its seams with creativity and passion for the series, and it really innovates within the Kirby series to create one of the most lovable games on the Switch. I've been a Kirby fan for many years and loved a lot of the games in the series, and I can very confidently say that Kirby in the Forgotten Land is one of my favorites. If you haven't played it yet, you really should. It's incredibly fun and lovable, and it's the game I've wanted from the series since Kirby Air Ride teased 3D Kirby all the way back in 2003. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The vast majority of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, and subscribing is completely free and helps me out a ton. Thanks again, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day.